Welcome to week number 2, class. Bioterrorism. What a time to have this discussion. Am I right? We are moving along from our discussion about enhanced interrogation. Thank you for your hard work. I should get around to grading your presentations that you submitted at the beginning of this week. So if you have any questions or concerns about that, please reach out to me and let me know. I look forward to seeing what you guys came up with. But this week we're going to be talking about bioterrorism by reading the book The Demon in the Freezer and by listening to a couple of podcasts that I have listed in your syllabus. So the Science Friction podcast. Hopefully you find all the material interesting for this week. I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer though before we talk a little bit more about bioterrorism. It's going to be really hard to separate kind of what we're living in right now with what we're going to be discussing. But I think there's a few things that we just need to get out of the way before we move along. First, all of the intelligence that we currently have about COVID-19 is that it is not something that was developed in a lab. It was not something that was deployed as a weapon on the world. As gruesome and unfortunate and as devastating as it's been for a variety of different reasons, it seems to, again, the intelligence from our own intelligence agencies suggests that this is kind of a natural occurring virus, kind of a fluke, if you will. So, for lack of a better way of saying it. But that doesn't mean that we aren't kind of experiencing some of the things that, some of the same fallout and some of the same anxieties and some of the same fears that would accompany an act of bioterror. So it's really important to distinguish the situation we're in from an act of bioterror, but also to acknowledge that there is going to be some overlap. And I think that's okay as we move through this for you to have those thoughts and to have those feelings. So in the book, The Demon in the Freezer, it's going to introduce us to the anthrax scare and a little bit about that, but it's mostly going to focus on smallpox, which was just a completely devastating disease. And it's going to talk about how that was eradicated and the efforts that it took to eradicate that disease from the face of the earth. And then these weird decisions that were made to maintain that virus in labs to deter people from using it as a weapon or to potentially have it to use as a weapon, and some of the ethical questions that stem from that. I found as I read the book, some of those ethical questions just really interesting, and I want you guys to have fun kind of exploring those and talking about them. And again, within the situation that we're living in right now, I think that that could actually add to the ethical discussion we can have around whether we want biological weapons maintained in labs in our country or in the labs of our allies, or in some cases, as you'll find out in The Demon in the Freezer, these weird deals that are made between us and countries that we kind of have rough relationships with, and how we kind of split the difference and both keep these diseases in our labs. So anyway, hopefully as you move through that, it doesn't make your blood pressure spike too much. But I'm interested to see how our current situation impacts our understanding of bioterror. One of the reasons I think this subject is so intriguing is because, for my money, I don't think there is an act of terrorism that could induce as much panic or fear as an act of bioterrorism. And this weird situation we're in now, where we've lived through a brief quarantine, and in some places that's enduring, and our lives have been kind of turned upside down, gives us a little bit of a taste of what it might be like to live through something that was an act of bioterror. So I think it's going to inform our discussion in really interesting ways, and I hope you find that interesting as we move through this week. The assignment for this week is a paper. Please see the syllabus to see what you need to do to write that paper. If you have any questions or concerns about it, let me know. Reach out to me. Um, Enjoy the material for the week as much as you kind of can. Again, I found reading the book really interesting. I read it before all of this stuff started, and then as COVID started to happen, I actually found some of the stuff that I read in the book informative, even for the situation that we're in today, uh, given that it's not an act of bioterror from what we know. So anyway, I hope you all are doing well. I look forward to seeing your papers, and I hope you find this week's material as interesting as I did. You guys take care.